Good day, beautiful tribe, and welcome back to the Love Shack studio. I hope everybody's doing well today. If you're new here, I'm spiritual medium Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT. Today we are going to jump right into the predictions for September and the remainder of 2025. September is once again another powerful and life-changing month of energies and events, friends. We are in the heart of both eclipse and equinox seasons, while we continue to flow through the 9 universal year in numerology. And in September, the 9 universal month. That is double 9 energy, friends, which can be totally awesome if you properly take advantage of it all. Like with all numbers, know the vibration, and in turn you can reap its rewards. Now, especially for the newer folks here, let me first elaborate a little bit on the 9 vibration before we go deeper into my predictions and visions of future events. The 9 is all about completion. It's all about release, compassion, integration, and on the world, as far as the world is concerned, in the global affairs, it's about global affairs, humanitarianism, arts, culture. And being that we're flowing in the double 9 vibration, friends, it is going to turn up the volume quite a bit when it comes to endings. Remember, the 9 is the end of the cycle. And that's good because that makes way for new beginnings, especially in October when we step into the 1 vibration of new beginnings and new starts. And then 2026, of course, is a 1 universal year, a whole new start. So take advantage of this 9 vibration. These traits also ring in really loudly when it comes to completion and all that and everything I just said. When it comes to the full moon coming up, the full moon lunar eclipse on the 7th. Now, I'm recording this on the 3rd. Hopefully you're seeing it the 4th or a little bit after the 4th. But the full moon total eclipse, that is going to give us triple the energy of completion. So friends, be sure to take advantage of these energies. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of the current transits and the ones that are coming up to allow yourself to bring things to a conclusion. To end things, whenever it may need to be ended, whether it's a bad habit, whether it's an addiction, friendships, relationships, and the list of possibilities just goes on and on and on. As far as how this is all going to impact the world and events that are soon about to play out, first and foremost, the 9 vibration is endings, friends. And we have continued throughout this year to see so many folks in high positions and even not high positions being let go, people being fired, people resigning, and even people passing away and even being taken out of the equation completely, if you know what I mean. Something I stated in my 2025 world predictions that we would begin to see. Well, now we're in that double 9 vibration, friends. I remind you over and over again. So we will also witness many people passing away. The 9 vibration does that. Sometimes people pass in their 9 year. Sometimes people lose people. Like my friend Bill lost our friend Susie. He was in his 9 year. 9 years are endings. Sometimes abrupt. We got to flow with it. But sometimes, again, it can affect people's health and it can affect people when it comes to people passing in that 9 vibration. September is the double 9. And we're also coming into the eclipse energy, which is also about clearing and letting go. And this is going to strengthen that double 9 vibration like never before. So keep in mind, we're already feeling the eclipse energy. We were feeling it over a week ago, usually a few weeks before we even get into it. And remember, it's September 7th. That's the eclipse, blood moon. And we shall continue to feel this energy and witness the repercussions until the end of the month, because we have another eclipse at the end of the month on top of that. But it's this lunar eclipse that's super powerful. So I expect to hear soon quite sudden and quite shocking here. I feel like we are going to hear in the near future of some type of sudden and shocking passing of a world leader. Now, this feels unexpected to me. So it can't be like the President of the United States, because people are talking about that, expecting it. Some people are even predicting it. I don't feel like that's the case. Sure, anything is possible. But it feels to me like a deer in the headlights, sadly. So many people, again, are sadly saying and predicting that Trump's going to soon pass. I don't feel like that's the case. I do feel like a health episode's coming up. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but not yet. He's still got a lot of fuel in his tank. Don't underestimate him. Don't underestimate him. Now, this may sound strange, but I feel like a lot of health issues when it comes to world leaders in general, not just President Trump, Current issues we perhaps even, they may not even be aware of themselves right now. So upcoming issues around their health. Now, I talked about Trump's health recently and told you, I feel that there's an invasion going on in his body right now. Likely it's the big C in his colon or in his prostate areas. Also, a lot of congestion and fluid around his heart and his arteries. And I feel soon he's going to collapse, and likely from a small heart attack, in which the White House, of course, is quickly going to attempt to cover up. I don't know why, but they will, quickly, but they won't be able to, because people are already watching him very, very closely. And remember, I said way back that he would pass from heart-related issues in his sleep. That was my feeling, and I felt like it would be natural. I stated this back in 2016. I said that he would serve 2 terms and that he would pass away in the 3rd year of his 2nd term. And that was 9 years ago, right? 2016, 9 years ago. Wow, time flies, doesn't it, friends? Time flies. So that would be more likely 2027. Now, again, anything's possible. Now, November jumps out really strongly at me. And remember, November, we're in that Mercury retrograde energy shift. That brings up emotions and health issues also. But also, President Trump will be in his 4 vibration for the month of November. That also brings about health stuff, big time. So I feel like he's in for a huge health episode that's going to hit Trump really hard. January is another window where his health can and likely will be compromised. But I don't feel like he's going anywhere yet, friends, as much as some people might wish that, and should never wish that on anybody, but some people do. Now, I remember who's going to take over afterwards. Always keep that in mind. Now, I feel it's a majority of the leaders that we talk about the most with current and coming health issues that are happening. For example, the leader of China. When I saw him in the video yesterday or the day before, he's just not well. He got gained a lot of weight from what I saw anyway. So he's not well. There's something going on with his health. Kim Jong-un, that's not no secret. He's not been well for quite some time. Remember, he had some type of heart surgery or something. They tried to cover it up. That was a couple years ago. He also needs to be aware of heart issues because I'm pulled to his heart area. And I said this in the past, but I see his sister taking the throne in the future, perhaps closer to the year 2030. Now, Putin, as I said in the past, his reign, as I actually predicted earlier this year, perhaps even eventually, maybe even last year I said it, but I said that Putin's reign is going to come to an end. And I believe this is health related, or perhaps him even being poisoned, because I see like backstabbers around him. Many backstabbers around him. That'd be any leader anyway, right? So that feels more to me like Putin's reign ends in 2026. Now, I know right now Putin is in his 8th personal year in numerology. So October would be a 9, so there could be something around his health in October. But also next year says 9 year. And I would look for the time period around April of next year for him. And then also September of next year for him, when he's in his double 9s. But definitely something going on with them. Now, when I went to Peru and interviewed Master Puma in Peru, he spoke of leaders as well. He stated that many would be replaced by leaders that stand in a higher vibration, basically having the best interest and outcomes for all. That's what we need. And he stated that this is already happening in some places. I don't know if he said where, but he said this is happening in places already. It's beginning, which we can only pray is true, right? And I'm sure it is. This includes leadership roles, whether it be your local mayor, your governor, your presidents, your prime ministers, no matter who it may be. And let us not forget the justices or the justice systems as well, because our interview with Puma, by the way, is going to premiere next week. Everything from natural medicine to the aliens in Peru. I asked him about that and the mummies and the aliens of Peru. He went into deep detail about that. It's a great interview. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And if you're new here, you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, hit that subscribe button. And also I'm hitting the wrong thing. Hit the thumbs up button too, please. Help the algorithms to put more content like this on your page. It helps the channel. And it's just showing your love for all the time and energy that goes into this content. And a big thank you to all the supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Back to justice and justices and the whole justice system. A system that does not always truly serve justice, as you know, unfortunately. And we have to be mindful that many folks coming up are going to be accused of things that they may not have done, especially in the public eye, which can also bring on, of course, a lot of injustices, or injustices would be a better word, into play. Now, the entire justice system, including law enforcement agencies, are going to be huge highlights for this month and moving into October and November. We're going to see actually people being held accountable. So, and even wrongly accused. So you got to be mindful of that. And I see big justices stepping down for whatever reason. I don't know if that's the justices, supreme justices in the United States. Could be justices in other countries. Spirit's also showing me France. So I see something going on with their justice system and shakeups there. And even up there in Canada, some shakeups in their justice systems. It's time, again, that's where new leaders need to go into place, and the corrupt justices or law enforcement or whoever need to be brought into the light. And people that work in those fields, they don't want that corruption there. There's lots of good people that work in those fields. And they want it changed and shifted too, but they see it. And again, this is not just the United States, folks. These energies are going to hit every country in some form or another. Truth is another thing that's a huge highlight for the month of September. We're going to see leaked documents coming about. Leaked documents, not ones that they're just giving us like Epstein files. Leaked documents, especially around medical industries. And I have this sudden thought of WikiLeaks. Way back in the day, you remember all that. Poor Julian Assange went to prison for that forever and ran forever, finally free. This thought and memory would make me believe that some of the leaks that are coming forward would be a huge part of something related to that. Perhaps something bigger than that. So I forget what all those leaks were about. I know some of them were about Hillary Clinton. So I guess leaks from what's happening and what they're doing behind our backs and the government. If that pops in my mind, when things from the past pop in my mind, there's usually some type of relation to it. Related to this particular one being related to government secrets of some sort. Another one that comes to mind and has in the recent past too is Edward Snowden. So I feel we're going to see something similar to a whistleblower blowing the truth around, say, the NSA, human abuses. And I see many other congressional types of meetings occurring around whistleblowers. This is going to be exciting. It's going to be quite a show, friends. Some are going to be behind this. They're not going to show us. They're going to keep it behind closed doors, which isn't cool. It should all be publicized. There should be a channel. Our government, for all the taxes we pay, there should be a channel where we're able to watch this all the time, no matter what. There should be no secrets. It should all be open book. So we're going to see this occurring around a lot of whistleblowers, some going back to the hot topic of UFOs, UAPs, and alien technology. We're also seeing this week, if you notice, people are stepping forward around the Epstein case. Something I told you that we were going to see. And there was a big drop of papers. I don't know. I haven't seen what was in those papers yet. I haven't really had time to look into that. But I told you to expect that to happen. And we're in September, and we're already seeing drops happen. We haven't seen any big leaks. And we see the whistleblowers. We see these women stepping forward in Congress or in these hearings that are happening now with the Epstein case. Again, something I told you we would see. And, of course, they did some type of large file drop, as I said. Not that it's going to do anything. Hopefully it will. But we want to see people being held accountable. And I feel like we're in that energy of accountability. So people will be held accountable in some way or another. And eventually it's all going to get leaked out, as I told you. All of it. All of it's going to be leaked out. So get ready for lots of scandals, friends. Lots of truth drops, file drops, and file leaks, and whistleblowers stepping up to the plate and hitting the home run. I feel this unfortunate rise coming this season in the amount of flu and even COVID and cold cases. Cold cases makes you think of the FBI or something, right? Anyway, people getting colds is what I really meant. And it feels to me like in certain areas, especially in areas, different countries, I just feel like it's going to be more of a challenge for some areas than other areas. Very challenging altogether, a very challenging cold and flu season. And even in some countries where I see some small schools or workplaces being closed down, Only because, not as a lockdown, but because they don't have the employees. Nobody's showing up to school, so they're shutting down the school for a couple of weeks because people are homesick. And this could pick up strongly around the month of November. So be mindful of your immune systems, friends, and keep your emotions into check because things are connected to emotions. And this also falls into place in January and February. So we'll just say November through February. And as far as another 2020 type of outbreak, I tell you, fear not, friends. It will be some time before we see this, as I stated in the past. Climate lockdowns would be the most likely, and be more likely, actually. Climate lockdowns, as we see, is sort of happening right now in Texas. That's the next thing on the list when it comes to the globalists anyway. Not Texas, Canada is what I meant to say. People are forbidden to go into the forest, right? That's a partial lockdown, friends. Call it what you will, but that's what it is. Partial at first, pushing the agenda further and further next to see what else they can ban you from. So I feel 2029 through 2030, that's going to be the years of concern when it comes to large outbreaks that actually affect the respiratory system, just like the 2020 bug did. So perhaps even a bit worse than that, actually, unfortunately. I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but it feels like it could be a lot worse than that. And I feel like it's going to come and go very quickly. So that's pretty positive, kind of disappearing like a magician. Here I come and here I go. So that's the positive aspect. And it's kind of like the way COVID did, too, the first round. This feels a little more serious to me. And let's not forget that this is an amazing time when it comes to medical breakthroughs. Whether it's new cures for many diseases to begin to rise up into the light, we're going to see the return of many ancient healing remedies around plants and trees. We see it happening already, but we're going to see ancient remedies coming to the forefront. Even Edgar Cayce comes to mind, and his remedies coming to the mainstream. And as much as Big Pharma is going to want to push against it as they have for generations, they're not going to be able to do that anymore, friends. They're not going to be able to suppress these remedies in the near future. Too much flowing out all at once in natural healing and healing using lights, sound, frequency, vibration, and new technologies that haven't even hit the public eye quite yet, or even at all. So 2026 is going to be an amazing year when it comes to these medical breakthroughs and things. We'll see some of this in September, but especially in October, because remember, October is a reflection of next year. You always want to make October a great month. You know, I travel all the time in October, so I get more travel in next year. Take more days off, so you have more days off next year. You want to start new things. It's that one vibration on the universal stage. So you want to promote that for next year. So keep all that in mind and look for big medical breakthroughs when we get to October and throughout 2026. If there is any vibration in any time where there would be an extremely strong potential for an event such as an earthquake, tsunami, or even pow-pow events taking place, claiming large amounts of lives, it would certainly be this month of September. And that double 9 vibration and the eclipse season and everything else that we got going on. So I would expect both hospitals, nursing facilities, and even morgues, as creepy as that sounds, to become super busy, maybe a little overwhelmed in some areas. And this month could also be a time, also when we step into late November as well, these double 9 vibration can also help those who have been holding on to life too hard. You know, people that are really sick, that aren't passing away, but you know they want to. People with diseases that are just holding on to whatever they hold on to in this lifetime. Lots of things, people, emotions, so forth. Old age. This is a time where many people that have been holding on will begin to let go. So that's a good, finally, breath of relief for many people. Some people just hold on. You don't need to hold on. Especially at the end, you just don't need to hold on. Sometimes they need to be told that it's okay to go, too. It's very powerful. So if you're in that situation, even if they're unconscious, they can hear you. Give them permission. Tell them, let go. You know, follow the light, Carol Ann. There's peace in the light. Because September definitely does offer up this very huge window, this exit window for folks. Now, I would say we should expect to see multiple events across the globe that are going to be sadly responsible for claiming mass casualties, especially when it comes to water. We have a lot of water transits that are in play right now and coming into play over the next week, such as the blood moon eclipse in Pisces. So this would make September even more likely being a month where we would see a large tsunami event that would take place, perhaps even several. Now, this includes right here in the United States as well, where I feel that we are sadly going to witness several pow-pow events. One that feels quite large to me, kind of makes me think slightly of the Vegas pow-pow event, which was in my predictions that year. I saw somebody from the rooftops shooting down. I forget what year that was. It's not important now, but that pops in my mind. So I don't know if that pops in my mind because it's going to be a large event like that, maybe even similar to somebody shooting from high above, or if it even could be music festival related. Sometimes when spirit makes me think of past things, past events, there's some kind of relation or correlation to it. Or could it just be a pow-pow event that happens in Las Vegas? Hopefully none of it happens. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that. Now, another one I see connected to a school pow-pow event. While another one feels to me like it's an attack on some type of a religious institution of some sort, which I said in the past, I stated in the past that we were going to see more attacks around religious institutions, whether they be schools. Like I said, that event that sadly just played out a week ago. That was what, a Catholic school or a Christian school where that pow-pow and little kids again involved. Churches, synagogues, they're all open target for this craziness of energy. This also gives me another feeling that I had earlier this year that religious leaders may be attacked in some form or another. And we did see that play out on a smaller scale, but it still played out. We even saw what happened at Joel Osteen's thing. Was that this year? I lose track of time. But that comes to my mind again. And I said that he's a threat. He's definitely, his life is at a threat from cray-cray people. People trying to take some type of revenge that they think is revenge and they think is glorious, and so is not. So religious leaders need to watch their back. That would even include the Pope, just popped in my mind. So all folks that could be enduring some type of attacks of some sort. And remember, as I said earlier, beware of folks being accused of things that they may not have done. Sadly, many of these incoming current energies are really going to bring out the crazies, friends. I mean, like, it's already happening, but even more so. And there is going to be this increase, unfortunately, when it comes to anxiety. Right before the full moon, so it's happening now, and especially on the 7th and dragging through for the rest of the month. So this is going to, unfortunately, heighten people's mental illness. And some folks, not all of them, but some folks, while other folks, especially the younger folks, they are going to seem to not be able to contain their anger or their emotions, and even hatred towards others, whether it's other groups, other opinions, government, and so forth. And as you know, with anger and those holding in anger issues, it's a recipe for disaster, friends. And at the same time, it gives folks this feeling of getting completely fed up people are going to get to this feeling of being completely fed up and wanting to take action, especially, again, the younger people. This is going to bring a huge rise when it comes to protests across the globe. And many protests, unfortunately, going sour, turning into, I guess you could say, rioting. Now, I see this very sour protest igniting here in the United States, but also United Kingdom, here in the States, Ireland, England, Australia, and even folks in New Zealand will finally begin to step up and protest. Although I feel those in New Zealand will be a little bit more peaceful for whatever reason, which is not a bad thing at all. Now, it's the angry energies that are coming in, friends, and folks not being able to filter out that anger into positive. Stay in your heart space instead of staying in this anger space. I see that around here. People just hold on to grudges and anger. Just let it go, man. Let it go. Like, plug into the love. You're attracting all that negative energy into your life. Not good. Stay in your heart space. So if you're out going to a protest or something, be mindful, be alert. Because I see things turning south, especially if you plan to attend them. Again, be mindful, alert. Avoid angry crowds, especially as the sun begins to set. That was my feeling. Especially as the sun begins to set and darkness soon follows. Because I saw visions earlier today of fires being ignited. I saw a riot type of police in some countries, some cities, even here in the United States, probably Chicago, the way it's going there. I see this happening in parts of Africa, and I see military being sent in to control the crowds of people. I don't know where in Africa, maybe South Africa, not sure, but just Africa is where I was pulled to. I know it's a big continent. This is also going to reflect strongly again when it comes to the younger generations. So I would tell you to expect large protests and walkouts to occur around schools, universities, and anything that stands for education, friends. I feel education systems and our younger youth are soon going to become a huge focus in one form or another, which needs to take place in order for positive change to follow, of course. We will even see teachers becoming fed up, and so many walkouts and strikes around teachers and education. Another thing that popped into my mind, I don't know why, but the big protests, especially during Vietnam and in that time period, that pops into my mind. So would we say there's going to be anti-war protests? Because weren't all those protests back in the 60s also connected to universities? I'm pretty sure they were. I wasn't alive then, but pretty sure they were. They did teach us that in school. Now, coming transits with Gemini rules over transportation, trade, ports, and so forth. So this is going to have a strong effect, bringing about more issues around airplanes, airport shutdowns, some and most weather-related closures. Like we just saw in Phoenix, Arizona, 2 weeks ago with the huge dust storm that hit, something that actually came from my previous predictions for 2025. We're going to see more of this, especially around Asia. I don't know what it is, but it's pulled to Asia. The entire continent feels to me that is going to be hit really, really hard with severe flooding, storms, and earthquake activity. I recently had this vision of a really large plane crash, and I felt that this was between Europe and the Middle East. I saw a very large debris field. The number 200 or 200 and something jumped out at me. Perhaps there's 200 plus passengers, or maybe it's connected to the plane number in some way, 200. I just kept seeing 200. This could even relate to the time of maybe 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Not clear about what that is. Now, I also feel that there's going to be a lot of things happening when it comes to trains and subway systems. Again, that effect on transportation, but also the effect on the underground. So another subway I see visions of being submerged in water. Now, I saw this months ago, soon after it happened exactly where I said it would in New York City. So Spirit tells me that New York City, Mother Nature is not through with you, friends, in New York in general. Mother Nature is not done with you. The waters will come, according to Spirit, to wash away the sludge. It sounds to me, when Spirit said that sounds like a lot of major flooding happening in New York City. Now, we're also going to see this sudden surge in train derailments, like we did, was that earlier this year or late last year? I think it was last year. But we're going to see that again, the sudden surge of why are these trains derailing? Trains and even subways. I also had a vision of a subway losing power and being shut down temporarily. So that we'll see that with a lot of power outages, especially when it comes, and it could be just random. The subway randomly goes out of power. Train suddenly loses power somehow, or loses gas, or whatever the train's running on. Now, also be a little more mindful if you're out driving. If you're out driving, you should always be mindful. It doesn't matter, but you should be especially mindful, not paranoid, but especially mindful, especially if you are if you're traveling on major arteries, highways, or crossing bridges. Don't do it again, just be more mindful. And we're also going to hear more and more about these major recalls when it comes to things revolved around transportation. So recalls of, say, vehicles, recalls of different parts related to vehicles, even more so around electric vehicles. Now, this also is going to affect the energy of drones, whether it's going to be that we suddenly see drones, drones falling from the sky, perhaps injuring people or causing property damage of some sort. So not the time right now, friends. If you're buying a new drone, this is not the time to buy a new drone and fly for the first time. Take my word for it. We have Saturn retrograde in Pisces. And then we also, and that was on the 1st of September. And then we also have the lunar blood eclipse also in Pisces. Friends, this is definitely going to strengthen the already present energies of water. Without a doubt. As I said earlier, this is the double 9 vibration, friends, bringing in major potentials for tsunamis, bringing that into reality. Flooding is going to heighten, sudden storms, sudden flash floods, and many folks being consumed, unfortunately, by the waters in some form or another. This is going to bring our attention to the oceans, big time, throughout. Whether it be odd rogue waves that take place, again, tsunami waves, but also ocean pollution. And things happen with ocean pollution and more beach closures, even though most people shouldn't be on the beach anymore, at least here it's after Labor Day. Now, not to forget the accident-prone energy, too, over the water, friends. This is still in place. So we'll see this increase in boating and ship accidents. Boats that suddenly go missing, maybe at the Bermuda Triangle, which does still happen, by the way, especially during large storms. Large storms and even a boat or a small ship that I saw a vision hitting a bridge. I've seen that in the past, and we know what happens soon after. Now I see another ship or boat losing control and then crashing into a port, and we're going to see even stronger ocean currents and riptides. So I would expect a large influx of coastal-related storms, coastal-related damage, eroding beaches, and even ships. I saw a ship stuck on the shoreline somehow. I don't know how it got stuck there, but it was stuck on the shorelines, and they were trying to tow it away or pull it back into the water. Now I see a vision of what appears to me to be a cruise ship. I had this vision of this cruise ship, and I was just like in a distance in the water, like I was a mermaid floating in the water, poking my little head out the water, and I see this distant ship, this cruise ship in the distance, and all of a sudden it went dark, like totally lost power. And it looked to me like it was perhaps a European cruise ship. I think that's where the mermaid waters I was swimming in when I saw this. And I saw that this morning, actually, this morning. Now, the Pisces water influence also aligns with my past prediction of seeing issues with municipal waters, whether it be rupturing water mains, levees that break, dams that give way and from high waters, or even infrastructural damage. It's another thing that's going to come into the light. This also brings focus to the ports because they're on the water, right? And to the borders. It represents the borders, and we'll see things happening around the borders, no matter where you are, again, in the world. And sadly, we see issues in large amounts of fish. We've seen it, but we're going to see more large amounts of fish washing ashore in many areas. Perhaps multiple oil or toxic spills coming up in the near future on the water, and even issues when it comes to fisheries and hatcheries. So it's basically anything water related, friends. So be aware. Be even more aware if you decide to go swimming, especially in the ocean. I would highly advise against it, actually, as there's going to be these sudden strong rip currents that come. Large waves or rogue waves that just show up. And this would be a window of time where we very well could hear of the drowning of one or multiple surfers, even a pro surfer, or even an injury around a pro surfer or surfing tournament. Even with, this just popped in my mind too, like any kind of boat shows or boating races, we could see big accidents and incidents around that. And then even NASCAR comes to my mind, like car racing. Maybe more of an influx of accidents around racing, professional racing. Interesting. Like a bad one. Makes me think of Earl Earnhardt. That guy, unfortunately, that pops in my mind. So now the weather, friends, it's about to go wacky on us once again. Things seem to be somewhat quiet lately, wouldn't you think? Just a little bit. Depends on where you are, of course. But it seems rather quiet, especially with hurricanes and such. We haven't heard much. It's been very quiet. Well, friends, this is simply just the quiet before the big daddies and big mamas come rolling in, because they're going to be rolling in, I assure you, because hurricanes, even though they've been quiet, that's about to change, friends. That is about to change. I see one whipping up after another. It's a quick, sudden hurricane season, right? One whipping up after another. That's in both the Pacific, the Atlantic. It goes for everywhere, really, especially the latter part of September. September 29th also jumps into my mind. The 29th is an 11 day in numerology. If there's a storm coming your way on the 11th or 29th of a month, you better batten down the hatchets and get ready, friends, because it's going to be a big one. We can look back in time. Hurricane Katrina was an 11 vibration. Hurricane Sandy was 11 vibration. We all know what happened on September 11th. So we also know what happened to JFK. That was on 11/11. So 11 days. That's a very prominent number. And September 29th feels important. I don't know if that has to do with hurricanes, earthquakes, or something from the sky, because the sky is going to become very active again. Interesting enough. Even seeing meteors hit, meteors hitting different places. That just popped in my mind as well, especially when we get into November. It's going to be interesting. Hurricanes, again, even though they've been quiet, it's going to change, and one's going to whip up after another, and I'm going to say the latter part of September into the month of October, and even in early November. Now, I feel we will see this major hurricane, likely Category 4 or growing larger, that develops in the Atlantic, and it swings up into Florida and the east coast of Florida, heading straight. It felt to me like it was heading northwest direction. And I feel that there's going to be 3 huge hurricanes that are going to be whipping up in the Atlantic in close times and proximities of each other. But they all seem to be heading in different directions, which could be a good thing. One becomes a tropical, so that's good. And then I see hits around New Orleans with flooding and such. And I see a ton of flooding throughout Texas. I also expect to see a large breakout of wildfires in the coming weeks and in late September. And I feel this sudden wildfire being fed by high winds. And I feel another land grabs on the horizon, if you know what I mean, friends. And I see another coastal fire that reminds me of Lahaina and the Palisades breaking up. Other places that I feel like if I see something like Palisades and Lahaina, that tells me that there's going to be something big on the coast, right on the coastline. I saw this in the past, but I'm seeing it again. So usually when I see visions again, it's either because there's more detail or we're closing in on this happening. I also see fires breaking out around Italy, Greece, fires all around the Middle East, close to Turkey as well. That just popped into mind. And I see things breaking out around Canada and Mexico both. So wildfire seasons, friends, it certainly has not concluded yet. And it doesn't feel like it's going to conclude anytime in the near future. We're in those window of crazy years. Now, I also see this major flooding hitting parts of Japan. I saw large floods in China that caused a levee or dam to burst. Flooding in the southern parts of Australia and in and around Queensland, Australia. I see flooding across the Middle East, and I also had these really interesting visions of water just gushing out of desert land. It was very strange, just gushing out of desert land, and I felt like this could be somewhere near Saudi Arabia. And I felt large storm systems, several actually, sweeping across Ireland, Scotland, and in and around the United Kingdom. England, too, just popped into mind. It's all the same area, but you got me. And I also feel issues that are going to arise, and people have been asking about this a lot lately. I feel issues are going to arise around Yellowstone National Park. And I feel this is also a combination of events, so not just one thing. Remember, Yellowstone does take up several states, right? Several states. It's huge. It's a huge landmass. So I feel activity that's starting to erupt beneath Yellowstone Park. And I feel like it's about to get very edgy and very agitated. And I feel that now we see a burst of energy being released. I saw this vision of this burst of energy being released from Yellowstone. It wasn't like an eruption. It was almost like an eruption. It looked more like a big steam thing, but it was definitely a huge release. It was like a big burp of energy, or the earth farting like never before. It was really interesting. But it feels to me like a good release, not a bad release. I mean, unless somebody's standing next to it, it might be bad for them. But I felt like it was a good release because if it was not released, it would only just build up and become this huge monster, and we don't need that. And I feel that there's parts of Yellowstone that's going to be shut down, partly because of this activity that I see visions of, but also I see fire and fire dangers, more fire dangers in the lower part of the park, the southern part, I guess we would say. And of course, I see major flooding and major storms that sweep through there that also cause closures and washes away an important bridge or aspect. So remember, beneath the stuff going on beneath Yellowstone and that big blast, that could be more closer to occurring in November and December. Earthquakes is something else that Spirit said and warned that we would see an uptick as we stepped into the month of September. And friends, that's exactly what happened on September 1st. That's when that large earthquake hit Afghanistan, which I warned that there was going to be a major earthquake in Afghanistan. And sadly, that claimed more than 800 lives. Well, I feel that uptick is going to strengthen in this first week, right before or right after we get to that blood moon eclipse on September 7th. Very strong day energetically, September 7th. So don't be surprised at all, friends, that we see a massive quake or even a tsunami on that exact date, the 7th of September, when that moon rings full. And that moon rings full at 11:04 a.m. here in Arizona, 2:04 Eastern time on the 7th, FYI. A few places that jump out at me recently was another quake and even a rift in the plates in the Tonga. The Tonga jumped out at me very strongly. And if you remember, it was a few years ago, there was this whole rift that was heard and felt for so far. So I feel like something like that's happening again in the Tonga. I also see something very large hitting China. I had visions, this was also this morning, of rescuers going in and attempting to pull people out from the rubble. And I feel significant quake that's also going to hit close to or near Tokyo, Japan. Another in Alaska, as I said in the past too, near Anchorage. But I also feel that soon there's going to be some type of a large volcanic eruption in Alaska. And November again rings highly because we're in those other heavy energies in November, and I would expect a lot of upticks in volcanic and earthquake activity also in the month of November. So we're going to get that this month, and that's just going to be the pre-show before we get to November. October hopefully will be a little slower with the earthquake activity and volcanic activity, while everything else is being presented with floods and waters still. And another area that I was pulled to is Nevada and Utah. And I talked about that, even small quakes in Las Vegas. But I feel like there's going to be quite a shaking, quite a bit of a shakeup between Nevada and Utah, also affecting Northern California as well, of course. So friends, batten down the hatchets, friends, batten down the hatchets and be prepared, not scared, because stormy season is definitely upon us. Cartel wars, friends, that is something that I brought up in predictions going back at least 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And now we see this in play, at least if you listen to mainstream. The Trump administration just took out that boat, allegedly, being on a drug run from Venezuela. This is pretty much the first time we've seen something like this with the United States doing something like this and saying it's against the cartel, that I know of anyway. I could be wrong. And you should know, friends, this is just the beginning, just the beginning. I see conflict in Venezuela, and it appears to me to be more like missiles are being fired or falling into, Venezuela. So, some will be alleged attacks, on the cartel, and likely this is going to be very true, while others are going to be an attempt, of course, to make a regime change over there, which is so uncool. And I feel there's a lot of friction igniting even with Colombia as well. I'm not sure what it was, but Colombia jumped out at me, and I felt a lot of friction around Colombia. So I don't know how they're getting involved with this. And once again, the Trump administration is going to take this even further when they begin to hurt the income of these cartels. Once you start to hurt their income, friends, that's when they're going to get angry. And that's when they are going to start to fight back. And when they do, or attempt to do so, they're going to do so on U.S. soil, I assure you. So this is eventually going to ignite more gang violence within the United States in the big cities, with attacks on innocent people, of course, always getting involved. This is going to happen around Los Angeles, Chicago, parts of Texas, New York City, just to name a few, and Vegas pops in my mind for some reason as well. So basically, like the cartel already does in Mexico to the innocent people or those that interfere with their illegal businesses and their illegal dealings, they take revenge. And I feel another country, I don't know what country it is eventually going to jump aboard this fight on, I guess, the U.S. side, fight against the cartel. So another country is going to jump in. Maybe it's Colombia. Maybe that's why it jumps into my mind. I don't know. But I do feel that another country eventually is going to jump in on this. And of course, this is going to be something that gets much, much deeper. Much, much deeper. Of course, I also feel like there's something much deeper to this. That it's not all just about taking out the cartel, stopping the drugs. I feel like there's something much deeper to this. I'm sure you do too. And of course, when it comes to our governments, there's always something, a much deeper reason that they're never revealing to us, of course. I could go on for hours and hours, friends, discussing coming events and predictions, and that is why you got to stay on top and tune in to my Tuesday's Tea Time for weekly updates and predictions. And also be sure to check out my September forecast and predictions if you haven't seen it and listened to it already. Lots of great information in there. And I'm going to leave you with these past few predictions, starting with power outage season. That's what we can call it anyway. It's about to kick into gear, friends. Much of this is going to be, of course, from weather-related events. Puerto Rico already has a very fragile electrical grid, and as does also many of the islands, including Cuba. And I see huge issues coming for all of them, which could also make us easily believe that this is going to be related to a hurricane or some kind of strong weather system. Now, are you familiar with Gotland? Gotland is in Sweden. It's a little island. They just had huge issues with their power. And for folks, I have friends that live there actually, I see more issues with them in Gotland. And I would tell them to prepare for much longer, long-term power outages. Now, I also had this vision of a city going completely dark, like a large city like New York City. I'm not sure where this was or how it occurs, friends. I just saw a vision that I was in the distance looking off at this city and everything all of a sudden went dark. Definitely a time, basically, for all of us to make sure I know I got mine. Make sure you got candles, flashlights, a backup way to cook your food, and always be prepared, friends, not scared. Now, going back to water influences, I feel we are going to see a lot of infrastructure issues coming to light around bridges and dams. I would expect to see a lot of bridge closures, and there's strong potential for a bridge collapse, whether it's infrastructural or some other reason. Now, you remember, if you've been hanging out with me long enough, if you remember, last time I had a vision of a bridge collapse, we all know what took place in Maryland shortly after. So I had a vision today of a bridge collapsing again. I don't know how, didn't see, I just saw in the distance again a bridge collapsing. Let's hope not. It didn't look like it was weather related either, so I would say it's either infrastructural collapsing or being taken down some way or another. Now, this also includes tunnel systems, sewer systems, everything underground. Big problems around that, especially sewer systems. I don't know what's going on with them. That could be a big mess when it comes to cities. Now, on the positive side, as I said earlier, there's going to be amazing technological breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, and breakthroughs in medicine and the way we go about healing. We're going to see much more natural remedies coming into the light. We're going to see ancient remedies becoming mainstream and amazing cures for diseases such as cancer, breast cancer. I see breakthroughs in the causes of these cancers, which is really important to prevent them from happening to begin with. And then I also see breakthroughs for Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. So remember, friends, there's always good things to look forward to. And remember, you have your own free will, and you create the future and the life that you desire. So worrying about or stressing over potential future outcomes is only going to place you in that outcome. You're only going to manifest yourself into that reality. So manifest yourself into the reality that brings you the joy and happiness. And if together we focus on the outcome, remember, we can be manifest buddies. If we focused on the outcome of a better world and the better outcome of all these things that are happening, now the climate and Mother Earth's going to do what she's going to do. And you just got to just make sure you're always prepared and in a safe place and have an escape plan. Doesn't matter where you are. Between 2025 and 2032, as they said back in 2017, is an intense time for the planet. And we just always got to be mindful, alert, and remember, create your reality. Don't be in fear. Stay in the heart space of love. Stay in the space of joy and surround yourself only with people that lift you up to joy and happiness. And ask yourself, does this, can this, is that, or will that bring me joy and happiness? If the answer is no, then what the heck are you doing, friends? Run the opposite direction. Sometimes is not an answer, by the way. If the answer is yes, then you know you're making the best decision ever. Take advantage of this double 9 vibration. Take advantage of eclipse season. Step into the darkness so that you can in turn step into the light and shed your skin of all the things that no longer serve your higher purpose. September can be an absolute awesome month if you take advantage of it. Well, friends, I very much hope that you enjoyed this edition of predictions for September 2025 and beyond. And if, again, you're new here, thank you so much for hitting that thumbs up love button for starters to get this out to more people. Thank you for sharing it on your social media platforms. And become a new subscriber if you want to vibe with this awesome tribe. You want the most accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, and great content, meditations, and so much more, then be sure to smash that subscribe. Again, join the tribe. Down below, you'll find all the links to my social media, including Spotify, Rumble, all my links. If you get a message on social media from someone that appears to be me, because someone's doing this on Facebook right now, they just created a fake profile under me. I will not message you on private platforms ever. The only way to get in contact would be directly through my website, josephtittel.com or spiritmanjt.com. Big thank you to all the supporters, again, that make this free content possible for everybody else. Whether you're a member of the YouTube platform below by clicking on the membership and being a monthly supporter, or whether you're a Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude, and I will see you all in the future. Definitely on Tuesday, maybe even before that. Keep an eye out for the coming meditation as well. And until the next time, friends, remember, as my little sign says, I don't know if you could see it over there, but be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly. Have a beautiful rest of your day and an amazing month of September. Namaste, and much love, friends.